This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news just in to CNN. Officials in Odessa, Texas say they are responding to an active shooter situation. And according to a spokesman with the city of Odessa, there may be two shooters. One may be headed from Odessa to Midland on I-20, but we're still trying to get all the details here. CNN's Polo Sandoval is joining us with what we have learned so far. Polo?
Only about 20 minutes ago the Odessa Police Department took to Facebook and asked people to simply stay indoors, that they are working this shooting. I want to go straight to some information that has been gathered by a colleague at Lavendera in Texas, where police are confirming 10 injuries, possibly up to 20 injured rather, and at least one confirmed dead. One of those shot is a law enforcement officer among the injured, but it's still unclear if the officer is that individual who passed away. At this point, according to what the public information officer with the city of Odessa is telling CNN, there's a person in a gold Toyota who is, in their own words, driving around shopping centers and shooting people from his vehicle. This is extremely disturbing. This is on the east side of Odessa. So what we're seeing right now on Facebook is the police department telling everybody to get off the road. Reading this post that has been posted on their social media, it is extremely disturbing. As Odessa PD reporting this active shooting situation and saying that the suspect has hijacked, in their own words, a U.S. mail carrier vehicle, possibly a truck, and was last seen in the area of 38th and Walnut. This again on the city's east side there in Odessa. This is going to be a region between Midland, Texas and Odessa, Texas. And law enforcement here essentially asking everybody, if you are on the road, get inside because of this active shooter situation that just happened a few moments ago. Again, this is based on information that's coming from our colleague at Lavendera and also from what Odessa Police Department is posting on their social media.
And my understanding is there could be more than one shooter?
Possibly. They have identified at least one individual that they're looking for in a gold Toyota, but at this point they have not released a whole lot other information. I am reading here that this is apparently a gold with white accents, a small Toyota truck with a and a USPS postal van. So that gives you now at least two vehicles that police are actively trying to track down: this Toyota small pickup truck and possibly a United States Postal Service van.
And I'm just looking at some information from the Midland Police Department from their Facebook page saying they believe there are two shooters, perhaps in two separate vehicles. They say that it looks like this person is driving on Loop 250 in Midland. And again, the two vehicles in question, reiterating, gold, white, small Toyota truck, USPS postal van. This is according to Midland Police Department. If you're just tuning in, what we know right now is multiple people are injured. At least one person is dead, according to officials with the city of Odessa. And we will be right back as we continue to gather more information. We'll bring that to you. Stay with us. We're back with the breaking news just into CNN. Officials in Odessa, Texas say they are responding to an active shooter situation. And according to a spokesman with the city of Odessa, there may be two shooters. One may be headed from Odessa to Midland, Texas on I-20. We're still trying to get all the details, but we do know at least one person is dead and at least 10 are injured, according to the public information officer with the city of Odessa. And we have this tweet just now from the NYPD Counterterrorism Bureau saying we are closely monitoring the ongoing active shooter incident in Midland, Odessa, Texas. Let me go to CNN's James Galliano. He's a retired FBI specialist, supervisory special agent. And James, when you listen to what's going on, active shooter, people on the road, somebody shooting, according to the officials in Midland, potentially at shoppers or at shopping areas, what's going through your mind in terms of reading the situation?
Well, Anna, we've become, unfortunately, all too familiar with this. I mean, just think in the last month, there have been three of these, one in Gilroy, California, another one in El Paso, Texas, and a third in Dayton, Ohio. These things are extremely chaotic. They evolve very quickly. I think the important thing here is, and I think the Odessa Police Department and the Texas Department of Public Safety have done a great job in this, is getting the information out. We call this in law enforcement a BOLO, or a be on the lookout for, and that's the vehicle as well as the fact that there was a description of two shooters. This is a very difficult situation for law enforcement. You never want a crisis site to be mobile. You want to keep it pinned down. You want to make sure that you can surround it, move all the civilians out of the way, tend to the wounded, handle what you need to handle and attempt to establish negotiations or interdict the shooter or shooters. In this situation, with one or both of them possibly being on the move, it makes it much more difficult to do. We are in a situation right now where the public has to understand what the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI constantly teach in these situations. You need to run or evacuate if you can. You need to hide if you must. Fight if you have no other alternative. And then the fourth piece of that is you've got to contact law enforcement if you have any details of what you saw. No detail is unimportant. No detail is disposable. Law enforcement needs that information on it. This is a tough scene right now with a lot of moving parts.
You just gave so much important information, especially what people should do should they encounter somebody like this. What do you make of the NYPD counterterrorism bureau monitoring this active shooter reported in Texas?
Well, I say this all the time. You and I have sat at that same desk far too many nights and discussed these things. This is the new paradigm, and the new paradigm is you have to look at these things not in a vacuum, because sometimes these things are planned where one event happens in one place, it either distracts or diverts law enforcement attention, and something else is planned somewhere else. Also, the bad guys, whether or not they're terrorists or hate crime perpetrators, whoever they are, sometimes like to do these things in concert with other incidents. So law enforcement has to take it seriously. Obviously, now that this is happening in Texas, law enforcement across the country at the federal, state, local level are working in concert. Number one, sharing intelligence and information. Does anybody have any links to this vehicle? Does anybody happen to have, heard any chatter online about this? We've got to connect the dots in these things. And I think the NYPD on it did the right thing in getting out in front of this and alerting the public that they're monitoring this situation. And obviously law enforcement all across the country is going to be on high alert.
Okay, James Galliano, please stand by. I want to bring in CNN's Polo Sandoval just to kind of recap what we've been learning in the last half an hour or so since this situation began.
Yeah, a lot of this information is coming from the Odessa Police Department. Keep in mind that this is a region often referred to as Midland Odessa in West Texas. Odessa PD taken to their Facebook page just about 30 minutes ago and confirming an active shooter situation where they believe that a suspect, possibly two individuals, currently driving around the region and, as they put it, randomly shooting at people at this time. There are multiple gunshot victims that have been confirmed. Our colleague at Lavendera has confirmed that there have been multiple injuries and at least one death there. And the suspect, according to Odessa PD here, apparently hijacked a USPS vehicle and then was last seen in the area of 38th and Walnut there in Odessa, in that area. It's a relatively small community. So what authorities are doing right now, as you can read there, Anna, are telling people to get off the road and seek shelter. What you have here, very different to what we perhaps saw take place a month ago today. This is not a fixed shooting location. Investigators believe that this individual was running around randomly shooting at individuals, so it's very difficult for authorities to get the word in one specific location. And instead, what we're seeing here is social media now, and authorities going on their social media platform, putting out this wide alert, telling people to simply shelter in place.
And James, because what Prolo brought up, that this is a moving active shooter situation, not one location, how does that complicate things? James, can you hear me? It's Anna. You still with us? Okay, we don't have James Galliano anymore. Let's go back to Polo. Again, we don't know if there are more than one shooter, but police believe there may be, and there are two separate vehicles that they believe have been involved in this shooting situation. Talk to us about what we know about the injuries and number of people who may have been shot.
Absolutely. The numbers that we have right now, they're a total of 10 confirmed injuries, at least 10 confirmed injuries at this point. But that number could potentially go up to 20 based on what our colleagues are hearing and what sources are telling CNN. And again, we can confirm that at least one dead. We do believe that a law enforcement officer is possibly among the injured. However, we don't know if he possibly was that fatality. And as often in these situations, these are very preliminary numbers. However, when you're getting this information coming from authorities, the situation does look extremely grim. It looks extremely serious, obviously. And we are told that this word of what's taking place right now in Texas has made it all the way to Washington right now, where President Trump has already been apparently briefed on this situation that's taking place here, Anna. It certainly speaks to the magnitude and potentially the waves that this will generate. Just 4 weeks ago, you and I were sitting on the set. We were discussing what was taking place in El Paso. Those shots were just fired at that Walmart parking lot. Now here we go. Yet again, unfortunately, another shooting in the Lone Star State. A fatal one at that. And again, just 4 weeks since that last major shooting, White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham does say the president has been briefed on the situation in Midland, Texas. She says the White House is monitoring the situation. I believe we have James Galliano back with us. Given the White House has already been informed, James, does that give you any idea about how serious the situation is?
Absolutely. Anna, I cannot imagine that the Department of Homeland Security is not all over this. The fact that each of these incidents that I just mentioned, you know, the one in California, the one in Texas in El Paso, the one in Dayton, Ohio, and now this one, whether or not they're interlinked or not, it still shows a pattern here of these incidents that involve either one or two people, and I can only describe it this way. These type of situations like this, where somebody takes a weapon and then randomly and indiscriminately shoots people, I mean, it is just, it's the definition of terror, whether or not we can call it terrorism or not. And I got to be careful here, because police are trying to right now sort through what the motive is, because that helps them in the response to it. Is this a domestic incident? Is this workplace violence? Is this some disgruntled employee? Is this someone with mental health issues? Or is this someone that was a grievance collector, that something triggered them today and they decided to go on this shooting spree? Was this planned? Are there co-conspirators? Were the person or people that perpetrated this, were they directed, inspired? Were they aspirants to some type of hateful ideology or some type of anarchy and chaos, anti-government type thing? All these things, we don't know any of the answers yet, but these are all the things that the government is looking at, going through their databases, talking to the state and local folks in this area, as well as reaching out across the country. And Anna, unfortunately, in the 21st century, across the globe, to connect the dots here. This has become a pandemic. It's not an epidemic. And again, I don't want to speak or speculate as to what the root cause behind this one is. Far too early for that. Right. But it just seems that these type of incidents have become just far too many in too short a time.
No doubt about it. I mean, everybody is on high alert. We have a new tweet right now I want to read you from the University of Texas at Permian Basin, which is located in Odessa. It reads, Falcons, law enforcement in Midland and Odessa are working to locate and contain a shooter. Please stay in your dorm or office and do not open your doors. There were initial reports that the suspect was in East Odessa. We will post here as soon as this situation is under control. Again, if you were just tuning in, we're following a breaking news situation, an active shooter situation in Midland, Odessa, Texas. And what we know right now, according to officials there in the city of Odessa, at least one person is killed, at least 10 others injured. Quick break. We'll be right back with the latest.